What's good, Commanders fans? Just want to talk about a couple of draft winners and losers that are currently on the roster, players that we drafted that will help guys that are currently on the roster, and the guys that we drafted or that will currently may push some guys off the roster, that may lower these guys that are currently on the roster to lower on the depth chart or possibly released and not making the team and not making the 53-man roster at all. So we're going to start with the good news. We'll probably interchange one or two winners that are currently on the roster, and then I'll interchange and then go to a loser that is currently on the roster. In my opinion, I think John Allen and Daron Payne are winners. I think Jerzon Newton is really going to help these guys. I think he's going to motor these guys. And I always talk about John Allen, Daron Payne, their snaps. Like they always play 90 to 100% of the snaps almost every single game. I'm looking at week 4, and it shows the numbers. Daron Payne played 94% of the snaps. John Allen played 80% of the snaps. John Ridgeway played 18% of the snaps. I don't even say F.A. Abada on here, but, just Fedarian Mathis, of course, was injured. So they just have not had a lot of guys that can give these guys a break and keep guys fresh, keep John Allen fresh, keep Daron Payne fresh. Jerzon Newton's going to be able to do that. And the stat that I always talk about with Jerzon Newton is the amount of snaps he played last year. And even with the foot injury, Jerzon Newton powered through that and played through that injury and still was a dominant, effective pass rusher, a guy that was getting to the quarterback, getting sacks, getting pressures, and stopping the run as well. So PFF charted this is a stat from PFF last year. PFF charted Johnny Newton with 749 snaps on the season. For comparison's sake, Byron Murphy II played 2 extra games on the season and had 438 total snaps. Excuse me. Johnny Newton's conditioning is absolutely insane. So draft a guy in Jerzon Newton who can stand up, play 3-tech, can play defensive end, who could be a chess piece. Dan Quinn, Joe Wood Jr., they're going to use this guy a lot, who's going to be a great pass rusher, who can motor these guys' game, who can motor Daron Payne, push John Allen, using a different pass rush moves, hand usage, counter moves that Jerzon Newton is going to bring to the team. So just giving these guys a break, keeping guys fresh, keeping the energy up, their explosiveness up. You see the first step will be better, where you can see these guys kind of get fatigued throughout the season and get tired. And you just can't really rely on Fedarian Mathis. Like I said, they bought F.A. Abada back, but, both of these guys are solid. But I think you're bringing a guy in Jerzon Newton who has the potential to be an elite defensive tackle, to be an elite pass rusher, and bring more interior pressure. And you got to find a way to get all these guys on the field at the same time. That's a problem that we had, a couple of years ago. We would do that 5-2, that single package, but we'll see what Joe Wood Jr. decides to do in Dan Quinn. But just giving these guys a break and keeping these guys fresh, motoring these guys, just a nasty, nasty trio of pass rushing from interior pressure. And I feel Abada is solid as well. But now you have a guy that you really, really can rely on and push these guys and give these guys a break, man. So I'm super excited to see what we get when we get a fresh Daron Payne who's ready to go in the fourth quarter. Not saying he wasn't before. Daron Payne, not saying they weren't before. We've seen Daron Payne make plays with the left hand up, tip pass in the fourth quarter against the Falcons. Late in games, we've seen these guys make big plays late in games, but just having a fresh rotation of interior pass rushers is going to be awesome. These guys are finally going to take a breather instead of having to play 99 to 100% of the snaps and not having, a lot of depth behind them. So I'm excited for those guys. So let's go to a loser here. Unfortunately, I feel like it's Fedarian Mathis. He's just been injured. He's been out. He's played a total of how many games in his career? I can look it up real quick, but he just has not been healthy. Not all of that is his fault. I mean, even in a preseason game, like the first couple plays of the game, he gets injured. The first play of the Jaguars game, he gets injured. He just has not been reliable at all. And he's just been injury prone for the most part. And when he's been out there, he hasn't been super effective or dominant. He's played in 10 games throughout his career. Played in 1 game in 2022, 10 games in 2023, 1 fumble recovery, 8 tackles, 0 tackles for loss, 2 solo tackles, and 1 quarterback hit, 1 fumble recovery. Now, he was not known to be, he had 8 sacks his senior year at Alabama, but it's not like he's known to be like a dominant pass rusher like Jerzon Newton is. But yeah, this guy is on the hot seat. If you look at the roster right now, who makes it, of course, it's going to be John Allen, Daron Payne at the defensive tackle spot. And then you got John Ridgeway is most likely going to make the roster. He's been more impactful than Fedarian Mathis, who was Ron Rivera's second-round pick at Alabama. And then you have F.A. Abada, who they brought back as well. So, that's 4 defensive tackles right there. And then you got the defensive ends with Cleveland Farrell, Anthony Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, Anthony Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong. So I mean, you look at the roster, and he's kind of looking on the outside, looking on the outside, looking in. Honestly, yeah, Dante Fowler. I'm sorry, not Anthony, Dante Fowler. So I mean, he's kind of looking on the outside, looking in. John Baptiste, defensive end. Let's see if he makes the roster. So Fedarian Mathis, honestly, he might be on the outside looking in with that draft pick for Jerzon Newton. Another loser to me, I guess I'll knock out some of the losers. De'Ami Brown. I mean, Luke McCaffrey coming in, I think he probably will take his spot on the roster. They brought in Olamide Zaccheaus, and they didn't draft De'Ami Brown. Once again, they didn't draft Fedarian Mathis. They didn't draft these guys, so they have no allegiance, no ties to these guys. It's from the previous regime, so I can see Luke McCaffrey coming in and taking his spot. If they did not draft Luke McCaffrey, they just didn't draft a wide receiver at all, and they brought in Marcus Romsey-Jack Saint. I mean, who knows? He could possibly make the roster. Mitchell Tinsley. I mean, so we'll see what happens with De'Ami Brown. He struggled catching football from time to time. He just has not really broken out. Dealing with physicality, catching the football from time to time, kind of pinpointing passes down the field. I remember the Bears game, him and Sam Howell just weren't able to connect. So he had a couple good plays. He had the good game against the Titans with Carson Wentz. He had one good play against the Seahawks where he cut a touchdown pass. I mean, here and there, he'll have like a random good play. And then on the goal line, I think it was against the Dolphins where he just slipped and fell, couldn't get into the end zone. So I think Luke McCaffrey is a guy that's going to take more advantages of those red zone opportunities, and he's a great contested catch guy, where De'Ami Brown just hasn't been that for the most part here. So I think Luke McCaffrey definitely puts De'Ami Brown on watch. Same thing with Olamide Zaccheaus. Olamide Zaccheaus, he might not make the roster either, honestly. So both those guys on a hot seat. I do want to see more from Mitchell Tinsley. Jameson Crowder's going to make the roster, but just because of special teams and being a solid punt returner for us last year, who had a punt return touchdown. So De'Ami Brown is certainly on watch. Quickly, I'll go over Cole Turner as a loser as well because of drafting Ben Sinnott. Ben Sinnott's going to play. He might fool around and start. Zach Ertz, of course, veteran, he may start, and then Ben Sinnott comes off the bench, or they play together in two tight end sets. We may not see a lot of that with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, but they drafted Ben Sinnott in the second round to play. Cole Turner, another guy from the previous regime who probably is going to be pushed out the door. So if you think and then John Bates is probably going to make the roster because he's one of the better blocking tight ends on this roster. So it's kind of like Cole Turner. What do you bring to the roster? If they keep three tight ends, it's going to be Ben Sinnott. It's going to be Zach Ertz, of course, and then John Bates. Those are going to be the three tight ends that they take because Cole Turner is solid at blocking, but he's not better at blocking than John Bates. You need a guy that's going to get dirty in the run game. And Ben Sinnott, he's a better run blocker as well. So I think Cole Turner's on watch. He's on notice. Other guys is Braden Daniels. They brought in Brandon Coleman. They have Cornelius Lucas. They have Wiley. So Braden Daniels, where do you fit in? Another previous regime guy. Another guy who was he basically, if it was anybody else, he probably would not have made the 53-man roster and got cut. Now he was put on injured reserve to kind of stash him, draft and stash kind of guy. But this year, let's see if he even makes the roster at all, or it just gets released, or even let's see if he even makes the practice squad, or they do that thing where they try to draft and stash, or just stash him on injury reserve. All right, let's get to more positive things. I think Chris Rodriguez was somewhat of a winner because they didn't draft a running back. They brought in some UDFAs, so I think he's going to make the roster, so his spot is safe. And then Terry McLaurin, I consider him a potential winner because Jaden Daniels is supposed to be the franchise quarterback, and Jaden Daniels is great at the slot fade. So I think he's going to give Terry McLaurin a lot of opportunities downfield. You got a guy that throws a catchable ball downfield, and a guy in Jaden Daniels who I believe that will give Terry McLaurin chances down the field because that's where Terry McLaurin is at his best, getting the ball downfield, contested catches. Remember, he led the league in contested catch rate, or contested catches one year. He's just tough. I mean, look at the catch against Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander. I can go on and on and on. When he finally got those opportunities downfield against the Jets from Jacoby Brissett, against the Rams from Jacoby Brissett, you kind of see because people were just kind of down on Terry McLaurin. I was like, no, we just need a guy that can give him chances downfield. Sam Howell just wasn't doing it towards the end of the season, and Jacoby Brissett came in and did that. And I think Jaden Daniels has the arm and the mechanics and the ball placement downfield to do that, and just putting pressure on the defense. That's going to give Terry McLaurin a lot of opportunities. Jaden Daniels using his legs is going to give Terry McLaurin a lot of opportunities down the field as well. So I'm excited to see that dynamic duo. All right, and another winner is Andrew Wiley, just because we just didn't draft a lot of offensive linemen. Most likely he will be starting, and we just didn't bring a lot of offensive linemen at all. We did draft one guy, Brandon Coleman. Not like Andrew Wiley's going to be on the hot seat anyway, but I think he's a winner because he's still starting at that right tackle spot. So we'll see what happens with that. And then some people are saying the winner it could be Cliff Kingsbury just because of the weapons that we brought in. We did get some offense with Ben Sinnott, obviously getting a potential franchise quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and then also drafting, like I said, Ben Sinnott and Brandon Coleman at tackle. So they did get some offensive guys in the first 3 rounds of the draft. So, all right, you guys let me know what you guys think. Is there anybody that I'm leaving out? Anybody that you disagree with? Anybody that you think is a winner and loser? Just let me know and comment below in the comment section. Health Commanders, peace.